world once over. We are here. We are now. We're almost at WrestleMania. Woo! So I am in like multiple layers of George Manicness today.
It's a manic onion.
I'm so you peel away the layers
There's
of
layers.
George. So many layers.
So many layers.
So many layers. So, it's another week.
Yes.
It's been an incredible week. There's been so many awesome things going on.
So much awesome.
I mean, the only thing we really, would want to talk about is Captain Marvel, but we're going to get to that later. We have Josh here. I've been told that we don't introduce our guests well. We kind of downplay it.
You got me.
I find that it's really largely happens when we have celebrity guests on and we just pretend like they're the dude in the corner.
Like we pretend like they're Josh.
But I think it's funny.
It is, even though Josh is our most attractive friend.
Like, I don't know. I kind of like being like, oh, and we have this dude here. And then they might think they're all celebrities and we're like faking it out.
Yeah. Well, in that case, we kind of reverse it and then we make everyone feel less than special, even playing field.
Exactly. And
even
so
playing
because
field.
nobody is more special than us, Hambone.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Nobody.
Maybe
Mr. Cookies, but no one else.
No one else. Hey, Josh, welcome to the show today. How is the Semitic Svengali?
Your Lord and Savior is doing quite well.
We are brought a true Ramones aficionado. There is no one out there who's a bigger documentarian historian about the Ramones than Josh Goldfarb right here. Josh Seth Goldfarb.
Maybe he likes McNeil, but
I mean, I'm definitely
Fuck likes McNeil. He's not Josh Goldfarb.
It's true.
Hambone, what do we got on the show today?
Tonight we got a great show for you. We are going to talk about Captain Marvel. So nice. I saw it twice in theaters. We also have the Punk Rock Canon here again, and we've got a three-way dance with the Ramones for the Punk Rock Canon. We've also got this brand new punk documentary made by John Varvatos and Iggy Pop to talk about.
The only reason John Varvatos is on there is because he owns CBGBs, right?
I think that's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, so excited for our show today. Thank you for joining us, Josh. I think we really should start talking about Captain Marvel.
Yes, please.
I honestly, my expectations were really low just because of the negative stupidity going into it, and then even the reviews. Even though once you started digging deep into the reviews, I realized that the ones that were negative were also blogs run by like comic nerds who were probably pissed off about what she said too. So in the end, I think all the people that gave it a negative review were just like white old assholes who are pissed off that she said she doesn't like walking into a room with white old assholes.
Also known as dorks.
Dorks are horrible.
Yeah, we will choose geek as our title.
I think geek is a better, more respectful term. Y'all a bunch of dorks.
Bunch of dorks.
Dorks.
So I saw it opening weekend, which is rare for me.
That
is
is
tough.
super rare
It's
for
so
you.
tough.
You got kids.
We doubled up date night.
Yeah, you did.
Which sucks. That means we lost a kid for the whole day.
Right.
And we went to the Whitney to see the Andy Warhol exhibit.
Ooh, very cool.
And I didn't realize the Whitney was downtown. I forgot. Like right around the time I stopped going to New York museums. I realized it moved down to Gansevoort in the meatpacking district.
I had no idea it moved.
Yeah, it moved, and it's a really nice modern building.
Cool.
It's far more open. Really cool exhibit. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But I saw Captain Marvel with Allison.
Nice.
And straight up, I loved it.
That's awesome.
I will go as far as say it was the best Marvel Origins movie. What is that? What it's called?
An origin story.
An origin
Yeah,
story.
which I typically hate.
Oh, yeah. I think that across the board for a superhero movie, it's one of the best origin stories they've ever made. They seamlessly weave the origin in and out of the actual story that's happening, which is surprisingly hard to do for most film studios, but they did a great job with it. Very, very high marks.
Josh, our guest of honor. I know you went and saw it too.
Yeah, I saw it on Sunday, so opening weekend as well. And it was wonderful. I thought it was a really good movie. It was certainly not the best Marvel movie, but it was a really good superhero movie.
Yep.
It was one of the better superhero movies that I've seen in a long time, especially after seeing some of the other Marvel origin movies as of late, Doctor Strange, which was a good movie.
My least favorite Marvel movie.
But it wasn't my least favorite Marvel movie, but it was okay.
What was your least favorite Marvel movie?
Dark Thor, the second Thor.
So everyone's smoking crack. Maybe I'm the only person in the world. I love that movie.
The Dark World
The
Thor?
second Thor movie.
I didn't think it was bad. Mine is Iron Man 2, which is, I think, the actual worst Marvel Cinematic Universe movie.
Yeah, I think Iron Man 2 is there. Doctor Strange is my number one. Doctor Strange and Iron Man 2, and then I I think I stuck to the rest of Captain
Ultron is not that good.
Oh wait, Ultron's bad. Captain America: First Avenger is a pretty fucking boring origin movie.
Compared to Iron Man 2, it's 4 stars. Iron Man 2...
I'm not comparing, though.
Well, I'm just saying that, we're talking about the ones real quick that aren't that great. Captain Marvel, what it does well is it does fill in a lot of the blanks in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it's a movie that is intended, for all intents and purposes, to go and tell the story of this one character's origin, as well as fill in those blanks and kind of help you fill a gap in to lead into another movie. Iron Man 2 did something similar, but completely dropped the ball. Like, Iron Man 2 was just we need to just kind of get you a few more steps to the Avengers. Here we go.
To be fair, that was also a Paramount movie. That was before Marvel became the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Fair.
And I enjoyed the Thor movie. I thought it was a very dark, very different tone of movie. I think that might be what turned people off.
I agree.
I don't hate it, though. Doctor Strange I just found boring.
I didn't mind Doctor Strange. I thought Doctor Strange, it certainly wasn't the best, and I think it was a pretty poor origin story, but I did find it entertaining. Oh,
and I guess I can't. I mean, you've heard my negativity over it. Guardians 2 was very okay.
It's polarizing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's just. It's okay. It's a good episode of a show, an episode of Guardians of the Galaxy.
My issue with Guardians 2 is that they said, all right, well, let's take all the things that we did in Guardians 1 and do them all again 4 times in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to think, though, this Marvel Cinematic Universe, Captain Marvel, I want to say, is the 20th or 21st movie in that series, all said and done. So, of course, there's got to be some, like George said, episodes of the series that might not be as awesome,
right?
Because you can't do that for 21 movies and expect everyone to be out of the park.
So one of the first comic books I ever got as a kid was I went to an old comic book shop and I found really cheap I found Avengers Annual #4,
right? Which
I still have to this day, and I recently had CG Seed.
Yeah, you did.
Pretty low, I think at a 4, but it is the first Rogue. I think it's Rogue joining the X-Men,
right?
And it's also the issue where Rogue absorbs Carol Danvers' powers.
Right.
So
awesome.
for us, everyone here who's about 40 or 41.
I'm getting there, guys.
41.
For those over the age of 38, our Captain Marvel is not even a Captain Marvel. Our Captain Marvel is a thought bubble in Rogue's head.
Yes.
In the Claremont comic book universe of the X-Men in the 80s.
Yeah.
And that's all I really knew. So I didn't know much about Captain Marvel, then Ms. Marvel. I know she was popular in the 60s and 70s. I know there was a male Captain Marvel for a while.
There's been about 5 of them.
I knew there was a Kree thing going on, but I really didn't know much. For me, it was really all about Rogue, and it's like they'd do the little, they'd have to explain it every single time really quickly in a box. And Rogue absorbed Carol Danvers' character powers and somehow absorbed her mind, too, and soul.
It got kind of annoying.
It got really weird until Rogue in, the late 80s, early 90s, got, committed suicide, pushed herself into the Siege Perilous to kill the Master Mold, and came back 10 issues later being attacked by a weird zombie Ms. Marvel. Remember that?
I do.
Do you remember that?
I don't.
Oh, my knowledge of early 90s, late 80s X-Men is insane. So that's all I knew of her.
I mean, how could you forget the Siege Perilous?
The Siege Perilous. I did not forget about it. Into the Master Mold.
Into the Master
Master Mold into the Siege Perilous. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that's all I knew about her.
Right.
Was there any storyline that, have you been following Captain Marvel in recent years?
I have. This new iteration of Captain Marvel, which is a version of the old iteration of Captain Marvel, Kelly Sue DeConnick wrote a lot of great Captain Marvel stories. I'm blanking on how long ago it was, but it was within the last decade.
It was around 2012, 14.
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And that's kind of the version that you get in this movie. Now, I saw Captain Marvel the first time. I took George for his birthday. Happy birthday, buddy. To the Alamo Draft House. We had lunch. We went to see Captain Marvel. We got our sweet Mondo glasses there. And what I love about going to the Alamo Draft House is they do a lot of vignettes and things before the movie that tie into the movie you're going to see. So they explained everything that you need to know and understand about Captain Marvel, whether it was going to be involved in this movie or not. So it was a great primer getting me back up to speed. And they started with the thought bubble in Rogue's brain, which was actually super cool.
Oh, I want to see that. I really wanted to go to Alamo. First of all, I will only go to the Brooklyn Alamo,
really?
Which I don't think you've actually been to yet.
No, I go to the Yonkers one because I could always find parking.
Yeah, but Yonkers is really just a redesigned Sony. I just don't like the fact that it's pretty much they just took I think an existing AMC or something building turned it into an Alamo. The Brooklyn one's built to be an Alamo from the ground up, and it's like, it doesn't have the stupid, I hate the MCU in Essex Green because it's got the lights in front.
Yeah.
Right.
This one has the one in Brooklyn has them like high school desk style or college desk style where you have the armchair over and they have the light under, so you can look at the menu under the thing.
Fancy.
Regardless, they have similar food, which is excellent. The fried pickles are to die for.
The food there is outstanding, and the
I should
service
probably
at the
get to one
Alamo
of
is
these.
great as well.
Alamo in Brooklyn, you can find parking around it. It's by the Barclays Center, so it's,
Okay.
you could, if you go on a Sunday, like off hours, you can usually find street parking. Obviously, the Yonkers one's easier to get into,
Right.
But it's long in the tooth a little bit. The actual building.
Mark my words, though. If I hit the lottery, I'm opening an Alamo.
I keep
Draft
telling
House.
everybody that. I'm so excited for when that happens.
When
I'm like,
when it happens, there's gonna be a movie there. I'll probably take over in car, and it's gonna be lovely.
the power of Hambone will make this
The
happen.
power of Hambone compels you.
So I love this movie. I like that even though in some of the reviews I read, it's like it hits every comic book trope. I thought it didn't hit every female character trope, which is what I liked about it.
I don't agree with that at all. I don't
You
think
think
it
it did?
No, I don't.
You agree with me? No,
Yes.
I'm talking about
Okay.
the reviews. Sorry, the reviews I read. A lot of them were like, "Oh, it's good. It's like exactly what you would expect." But like, no, she doesn't have a romantic interest.
There's no
That's-
forced romantic interest.
she's not in like skimpy like Marvel superhero.
You
ass
don't even
shoes.
see midriff.
And I thought it was
Or ankles.
and I thought she was she was funny. She had character. I liked her a lot.
And you know what? She had a great rapport with Nick Fury.
Yeah, Nick Fury, Samuel Jackson. I did not
Fantastic in everything.
I did not get bothered by his de-aging thing.
No, they did a really good
Wow.
job with that de-aging. It's really not noticeable unless you're staring, looking for it.
Well, so
You
I
noticed
had
something?
I had a thought. No, I had a
You saw a
thought on it.
mustache?
No, I didn't see a mustache. They didn't cave him. My thought on it is this. So, what's funny about being a man becoming 40 or aging rapidly in a way that I was not ready for? Most dudes who are 40 and 50 now, they're crossfitting, they're eating right, they're taking care of themselves, they're using supplements. Not us.
Okay.
We're not out. This is outside of
We are not
headhunters.
most guys.
Yeah.
What are these? Most guys,
They're out there. Anyway, so men look younger now than they did in the 90s, because in the 90s, the focus wasn't so much on taking care of yourself or trying to, be in any way kind of healthy.
Right.
Just everything was what it was. So when they de-aged him to look like he would have in the 90s, it didn't look bad, because most de-aging always looks kind of forced. But now that's how people who were his age looked in the 90s. Now, 25 years later, everyone's taking care of themselves, not us out there. And all of a sudden, a person looks younger now in their 50s than they would have in their 30s in 1995. So I thought that was fantastic that they didn't try to make him and I'm not saying that you're not hot, Samuel Jackson. I'm just saying that they didn't try to hot you up because it's a movie.
Yes, I think it was just I kept looking at him and I'm like, wait, you don't look like what you looked like in Pulp Fiction, because that's what I was expecting to see.
Well, they're not going to put him in that.
I know, but
wig.
that's what I was waiting. I kept looking, I'm like, but you're not Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
I just thought, because that's him 20 years ago,
Right.
And that's what I was kind of just that's what I kept looking at. I'm like,
But it's not Samuel L. Jackson. It's Nick Fury. So I mean,
I realized that, but I
know.
It just in the back of my mind. That's what I was thinking. I love the acting in the movie. I really love the fact that, first of all the space scenes. As you know, I'm not a fan of
You are
comics
not.
in space. Nope. With the exception, maybe the Dark Phoenix saga. I hate space stories. I hate fantasy in space. I'm not a space fan. The reason why I like Star Wars is anytime they're on a planet that doesn't look like space. But when they're in space, I'm just not a space fan. I don't know why. I never have been a space fan. Maybe because I can't go to space. I can't act it out in my backyard. That's why.
Right.
But Endor, you see, that's where that
Right.
works. You do the speeder scene in Endor or Hoth in the winter. I can do that. Space, don't like space.
You basically have two speeds for space.
Yeah.
Hoth and Endor.
Exactly. I loved the space scenes in here. I think it's because they had enough good acting that it made up for it.
Absolutely. And it's great. They do hit a lot of good nerves, I feel, in the movie, because there's a lot of things where she's a pilot. There's things that have to do with being a pilot. There's things with her being a noble warrior. It has a really good balance, and when things pay off, they pay off big.
So my only complaint and it wasn't really a complaint. I was just at the end of it was sitting there pondering. I didn't understand her powers. They really didn't do the best job. Really, I mean, they kind of, yes, I understand and I don't know if this is rude. I don't spoiler. I mean, she gets her powers.
Spoilers.
She gets her power.
Actually, it's a big spoiler.
It is?
It's a really big spoiler.
Okay, well, the way she gets, that I won't. I'm not going to spoil it for you because it's still early. The way she gets her powers, I didn't really quite understand that was her. I didn't get how she was getting it through that. I always knew about the Kree tie-in.
They fudged it.
But they only explained her having Kree blood as like oh, by the way, I gave you Kree blood to help you survive.
But you know why that didn't bother me? The original, going back, not that I read it, but Wikipedia it. Apparently, one of the earlier Captain Marvels got their power from can I be vague? From an explosion.
Yeah, I think that. So it didn't bother me. However, I do understand where you're coming from.
It didn't bother me. I just didn't understand how that works.
Do you understand Scarlet Witch's powers?
She can change reality.
Yeah.
Yes.
They call them hex powers.
Yeah.
It's reality shifting.
She's a mutant. She's a mutant. It's very.
She shoots red blobs.
I agree. It's not the power. It's the fact that I understand how Scarlet Witch is. The mutant thing really helps Marvel get over a lot of
how
stuff.
They budget.
Like that's what's so good. And what's the human shit's garbage. That's why anyone else who gets it by some other means, Thor's a god. I get that. Spider-Man bit with a spider. But super soldiers. But I get Wanda's power. The Scarlet Witch.
Okay, so Carol Danvers got her power from basically.
You know what it is? I can clean this right up for you. It's the 21st movie. They're in the home stretch. They're fudging it.
Yeah, they are a little bit.
I don't think
they did. It was a little bit like you couldn't really get from point A to point B to point C. And then the other thing is, again, not how she got to power. I get what her powers are. They really didn't do a good job explaining the level of her power.
Right.
Like we know this, and we saw in the Avengers trailer today that she's got the same powers like Thor.
She goes 0 to godlike real fast with no acceleration.
I think that was done through the character story.
I'm cool
arc.
with it.
I think the story arc did develop that.
These are semantics. I'm not really arguing this.
Yeah.
I found fudging a little bit. The like that's kind of how you got Kree blood. Okay, all right, we got it done.
Yeah.
But then I just didn't really understand just her level of, because she's had the powers for a while now.
Yes.
They do it where they go back and forth in time and they explain. You work through her origin.
She did not have complete control of her powers. There's like a governor.
One rough line. I'll let you know a couple things.
Yeah, and I read the Wikipedia too. I do know. I now know. I'm just talking about the movie.
Yeah,
as a movie.
Of course.
I felt you had to go read Wikipedia afterwards to try to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
But that's very small thing, and I think it's gonna get fleshed out more in Avengers Endgame too.
Yes.
Right? Like I think they're gonna get into that a little bit.
And without spoilers, I want to say I thought they did a beautiful, fitting tribute to Stan Lee.
Oh yeah, the opening. You're very nice, very
and
nice.
it was subtle too. It took me a couple seconds, like, that's good.
But then the cameo is even better.
Yeah, I think it's a good cameo.
Oh,
cameo was fantastic.
Because his cameo's got kind of like shoehorned towards the end.
This was
This is a good one.
chef's kiss. Perfect.
The one thing that still stands out in this movie that I had an issue with was, I'm actually trying to remember when did the movie take place? Did it take place in
1995?
Because they didn't really remind me.
Halfway through, they did say it. They had to actually flat out say it.
But my point is, they didn't, because at every single moment, they had to say, "Hey, it's the '90s. It's the '90s. Do you get it?
Hey,
it's the '90s."
they gave
Look at
it-
the posters in the background.
They
Hey,
gave
it's
it.
grunge.
They gave it the Goldbergs. It was 1990 something. You know.
I felt the same way a little
Yes,
bit.
I know it takes place
It
in
was
the 80s.
overhanded.
Well,
It was heavy-handed.
Go
Like,
watch Bumblebee, which is also a very good movie.
Yeah.
But they also do that too. That annoyed me more in Bumblebee.
Can we talk about how good the soundtrack was for Captain Marvel? Fucking awesome! Like
it was good.
perfectly placed songs.
It was
Yeah,
good.
you're gonna.
I thought
you gonna Emmy Goldfarb.
I thought Bumblebee was better with the music.
Ready? I'm going to try something new. Ready?
Yeah.
I agree to disagree.
Goldfarb. You're not just handsome. Your brain's
So
too.
handsome.
That's true.
We can't get mad at him.
Yeah.
So
Such a win.
that's why I'm still friends with him for some reason.
Once you get off air, it all
And I've
changes.
actually got into fistfights with this one.
That's crazy.
Did I miss the part? Like I haven't really read the comic books too deep for the past 30 years. When did the Skrulls become good guys?
George.
That's a spoiler?
yes.
Yes.
Massive fucking spoiler.
That is
That's
Act 3.
but like
You didn't hear that. You didn't hear that. You didn't hear that.
But like seriously, like wasn't it like in the comics? Did that ever
Never.
happen? Never,
Never.
right?
And that's why it was such a good twist.
Okay, I
That's
wanted
why
to make
that was-
sure
it
that
It
like,
was a good way to
swerve.
throw the comic fans off
okay,
their game a little bit.
I'll give it that. But and I couldn't even tell if the Kree were bad guys, or if it was more like an Israel-Palestine type of thing.
Depends what side you're on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goldfarb.
Yeah, that's how I saw it. I'm like, I think it's like an Israel-Palestine thing. I mean, none of them are like evil. They just like they just need a home. They all need a home, like, right? That's
They
what
left it
sounded like.
ambiguous enough
Yeah.
in certain ways.
I will say, I thought the Skrull general
Right.
was awesome.
Yeah,
He was
it bothered
Ben
me.
Mendelsohn from Rogue One.
Yes, yes. It was bothering me because you could tell his inflections within the costume thing.
Right.
Best part of the whole movie, Goose. I mean,
Goose.
come on,
Goose
Goose the
was
cat.
Goose.
The cat is
No.
Josh, you mother.
what?
Goose is a what?
What? What are we gonna ruin this too?
No, I'm just saying that Goose is adorable.
Goose is adorable.
That's right. That's
Goose
right,
is adorable.
Goldfarb.
Goose is adorable. I'm already gonna have to freaking like put this like spoiler alerts all over this thing.
Yeah.
Goose is adorable. Goose
Yes.
is great. Look, I really say, I mean, I'm not a big fan of. I do there. Look, I had an argument today, sort of, with like Paul Shirley and Enabon over at Board at Work, on Twitter because like they hated the movie. They didn't like it. They thought it was like the worst, one of the
didn't like
worst
it.
Marvel movies. And these are people who are like legit like critics of like comic book stuff and geek stuff. And I'm like,
So you mean there's nothing that's ever going to be making them happy?
and
Yeah.
I just
So-
well, they are DC fans, so and I'm finding DC fans
Oh.
somehow shit on all the Marvel stuff. I understand why, because our stuff's superior. But they seem to
Because
be
they're flawed humans. 'cause
Exactly.
They like shitty movies.
exactly, and they just didn't. They called it on the level of Doctor Strange. I'm like, you are so wrong,
That's
so wrong.
6 kinds of wrong.
And we agreed to disagree type thing. They're like, well, look, at least you saw the movie. The biggest trolls are people who don't even go see the movies and then complain about it. I'm like, I get that. I get that.
Why we can't have nice things.
I just thought it was amazing. Goose, amazing. Look, if you haven't seen it yet, I'm sorry for spoiling everything for you. Maybe I'll have to no, we don't. The worst part is I can't go in and even edit this because this shit's got to go on 2 seconds the moment this thing's over.
You didn't
Because
really
we're
spoil that.
we didn't spoil that much. You'll love it, and you won't even understand what we're talking about if you're not if you're not even a fan of comic books. So if you're like, say, Christina Goldfarb, you will thoroughly love the movie because you won't understand what the fuck we're talking right
And
now.
also, she
saw
doesn't
it
listen to
with
the
me,
show.
so-
What? I don't know. And Brie Larson was lovely.
She was great. And she showed up in friggin' Clifton.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
really cool.
that's awesome.
No, it was worse for you. I felt for you because I'm like,
'Cause
you're
I'm
like,
always at
that's
that
my
theater."
fucking theater.
Yeah, it's all right though, because you know what? It made a lot of people happy there. Yo, that tracksuit she was wearing was awesome.
God, like if she showed up at Carasotes, I'd be a little bummed out. I'm like, I was at Carasotes.
There you
She
go.
is super cute.
She is. Did you know she was a pop star? Like a air quotes. I'm quoting air quotes for people listening at home. At the Alamo, they started playing all these videos, and I thought it was a work. I thought it was just they made up in like 2005. She was a teen pop star.
Pop star.
I did not know that.
Pop star. That's what I said.
I thought you said bop.
Pop star.
Bop.
I can't say things. I say things weird. She's a teen pop star, like an Avril Lavigne kind of thing. And I thought that is so random.
So switch
not know that.
Let's switch topics because we're going way too long on this. We need to really note that this weekend is a very important holiday in the life of Hambone.
It's St. Patrick's
Patrick's weekend, and also known as Ham Schwasted Speed Round. That's what we're about to do right now. So we want to know very quickly, 'cause the fans want to know, what do you have planned for Ham Schwasted weekend?
So I'm meeting my dad at 10 o'clock in the morning in New York City to have a nice breakfast. Then my cousins will be joining us, as well as my brother. And we will intend to go to the parade. We won't end up going to the parade. We are going to get ham schwasted. And then at night, I'm going to go see the Bouncing Souls.
How important are the Dropkick Murphys to your people's existence?
Not at all.
What exactly is Irish soda bread?
It is a weird kind of bread with raisins in it. It's very hard, and I don't like it.
Were you regularly told that you would go blind or grow hair on your palms if you pleasured yourself as a child?
Consistently.
Thank you, Hambone.
You're welcome.
For your honesty.
Those are amazing questions. I really enjoyed them.
Worked very hard on them. So this month we're continuing our continuing our punk rock canon. This month we needed to get the Ramones there. We've been holding off on
Yes.
the Ramones for about a year and a half, but we needed to have our Lord and Savior Josh Goldfarb with us.
me.
And be it his 41st birthday last week, we thought this
true.
would be a perfect
birthday,
month
buddy.
and a perfect time to have you on. You're now 40, over 40. Do you find things just breaking like I'm finding having things breaking?
Breaking, no.
Waking up and you don't know why that
It's
hurts?
more of a consistent level of discomfort that varies in degrees.
Yeah.
Standing for a long time is no longer enjoyable because my
no.
back hurts.
Yeah, sit-stand desks are not as fun as they used to be.
Got a quick old guy question.
Yeah,
At what time in the middle of the night do you wake up to pee?
I don't.
Yeah, that's 50.
I sleep through the
that's
night.
50.
Oh, no, 3 o'clock in the morning? I got to go.
No.
You're not 40 yet. Oh no, that's scary though. But the things they will just break now. Like my knees now need to get shots and stuff, and like it's rough.
See,
40.
that I'm okay with. That hasn't been an issue, but now I'm noticing that like if things are printed like small print, I now need to
Forget
hold
it.
further away. I'm
the
like,
the glasses I've had for a
what the
while
hell has
now.
happened?
You should see the size of the print on my phone.
So
See
we
some space.
So we thought this would be the perfect time to do the Ramones. Enter them into the Punk Rock Canon. If you do not know, the Punk Rock Canon is the greatest albums of punk rock albums of all time. One album per band, and chosen by us, and we as the chosen warlords of punk rock determine what deserves to go in or not, and then you vote on it on my Facebook page, because that seems to be the only place that's any popularity.
That's it,
You know,
yeah.
anybody seems to go visit.
More
so
fans than me.
yeah, and not by much, but they just mine seem to engage more.
It's true.
They engage a little bit more. And again, as we said, well-known, published Ramones historian Joshua Seth
That's been
Goldfarb.
published in many peer-reviewed journals.
Fanzines.
Yes,
Fanzines. Like
as I said, peer-reviewed journals.
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah.
So we have decided to go with a three-way dance. First time ever, three-way dance. We're going to put 3 albums chosen by us, and we're going to fight for our albums. Nobody here knows what the other person's doing unless someone has said, first of all, Josh, I'm very, very frustrated. So I told Hambone he can't be my friend. He doesn't know my favorite Ramones album. He also stalled and asked me what my favorite Ramones album. This morning I asked you what my favorite Ramones album, and you told me your favorite Ramones album.
Oh, I misunderstood.
What is my favorite Ramones album?
Well, that's the thing. I'm not positive only because it's either End of the Century or, if memory serves, in high school you did once have a denim jacket with a massive Mondo Bizarro back patch.
So I did the Mondo Bizarro thing as a joke. You are correct in the first instance. It is End of the Century, and that is the album I will be fighting for today. Hambone, did you know that?
I did. And I was
Good.
really bummed.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I have said that. You don't what?
I know, I was bummed because that's the album that I wanted to argue
Oh,
for.
thank God. Thank God.
No, it's the best one.
I mean, it would be kind of weird though if you
Not the
It is their best album. It is one of the best pop albums of all time. Hammo, what are you
idiots.
picking? I don't know. You don't really talk about the Ramones much, so I don't know what your favorite Ramones album is.
So it's funny because my favorite Ramones album is End of the Century. I listen to the Ramones incessantly. My goddaughter, what she likes to listen to is The Clash and the Ramones. So I think I've listened to the Ramones more in the last year than I've listened to them in my entire existence of loving the Ramones. And I listen to the Ramones a lot.
Do you listen to the Ramones or just
the greatest hits, which is
early all of them?
I like a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
I think that there is. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I think one of the things that people don't really appreciate about the Ramones is that even their later albums, even if it was stuff that you couldn't maybe get through the whole album, there's always a gem or 4 on every single album that they
100%
release.
true.
And their sound did kind of evolve and change throughout the course of their career, and they kind of de-evolve a little bit, but then they kind of hit a point where they kind of just made what you think a Ramones record should sound like. And it was just perfect.
No, that was actually just their last album with Spider-Man on it. They finally went back to the original sound because Brain Drain and Mondo Bizarro were very leaning to New York hardcore at that time.
Yeah.
Brain Drain is a hardcore album.
It's okay.
With Pet Sematary, which is their best song. My favorite Ramones song of all time is Pet Sematary, but that album does not deserve to be in the Punk Rock Canon. What is your choice?
So I am going to argue the first Ramones record.
Which someone should.
Someone
I will
should,
I will
yeah.
give you that. Josh, what will you be arguing for?
I was torn. I was thinking I should challenge myself and go with Road to Ruin. Then I realized, Marky's on that, so no. So I'm going to go with Rocket to Russia.
Wow!
Wow! I thought you were going to do
Shit.
Fight Till You Die or whatever that one's called.
Too Tough to Die?
Too Tough to Die,
If
yes.
the question was best album cover, it would be. It's Too Tough to Die.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a fun story when I kind of hassled Marky
So
Ramone?
I really want this to be more about our stories about the Ramones. Go ahead.
So years ago, in a previous career, I worked at a nightclub in New York City.
Why can't you say BB King's?
Because
it's
I don't know.
closed
That's a
now.
good point. Yeah, I worked at BB King's in New York, and there was a concert, and Marky Ramone was there, and he was not on the guest list, but he said, "I'm Marky Ramone." So the door manager, who had no idea who Marky Ramone is, came downstairs to the office and asked the people who actually knew music. There's this guy, his name's Marky Ramone. Can we let him in? Yeah, let him in. Put him at a table in the VIP area, whatever. This is right after they got in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Marky Ramone then got very upset because his seat was right next to the velvet rope. And in VIP areas, there's a then hierarchy inside of that area. If you're right next to the velvet rope, you're barely in. You're kind of just like leaning. So the manager came back down and said, yeah, Marky's like wondering, like, can you get a better seat? And they, me and my buddy, who were going to be giving him advice, said, yeah, he's a Ramone, but you know, he's Marky. So Marky Ramone had to stay in that crummy VIP seat right where everybody could bother him and stare at him like a week after he got in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because he's Marky.
Wow.
Josh, also one of the reasons, one time I tried to kill him, he did not tell me that he decided with his girlfriend to go to the signing of the Ramones box set, where they were allowing you to sign the box set and to sign one other thing. I had no idea it was happening. This was a time where I would have taken Josh to anything, and every living Ramone was there.
Are you talking about the time that I drove home from college for this?
And didn't bother to even tell me it was happening.
I must have told you.
No, you didn't.
Wow.
No.
This doesn't sound right.
No.
So that sounds like the year that Josh Goldfarb did not
was
win
in the
Friend of
doghouse,
the Year award.
and they all died like a year later. So it was like
they died
really
pretty soon
that.
after that.
You met Dee Dee Ramone there.
I have met every Ramone at this point.
Yeah.
Every single Ramone I have met.
And what happened when you met Dee Dee?
I met Dee Dee, and I had 2 box sets because my girlfriend was not there. She was not able to make it, so I got my 2 things
and still
signed.
didn't invite me. And still didn't
That's
invite
true.
me.
The 2 things I got signed, instead of a box set for myself and then like something else, I got something for my girlfriend signed because I was a good boyfriend.
You got your girlfriend who was not named George Bungalow.
That is true. That is true. And then when I got up to Dee Dee, I said, Dee Dee, can you please sign this? And I gave him a Dee Dee Ramone and the Chinese Dragon 45. He then held it, laughed at his own 45, turned to his wife and said, look what this guy has. Signed it and said, even I don't own this. And I moved on.
So I was very fortunate. I think we might have mentioned it on a previous show. I don't know. Now they've all started to blend together.
Why don't you pass
I
100,
apologize
man?
if I did. I don't think I did. But I saw the Ramones.
don't remember.
I saw the Ramones at Coney Island High.
Right.
Which was their billed as their last 5 shows ever before they were breaking up. So they were announcing, you had to basically wait outside of Coney Island High, but not in front of it because the cops would be upset. So you had to hover like in the stores pretending to be shopping for hours until they opened Coney Island at 2:00 in the afternoon to hand out, so you can get a chance at a wristband to get in.
Right.
Well, the first show, I couldn't go because I had school, I had something going on. And they didn't do it like nicely. That they basically just said, show up at 2, we'll give you a wristband. It was a mob scene. The fire department came. They were hosing people down. It was absolute madness trying to get it. And I was like, the next day, I was like, I have to go. Like, I think I called Josh. I'm like, Josh, can you go? You're like, I can't go.
Oh, wait. You
Actually,
called Josh?
No, he did not.
Yes, I did. You said you couldn't come. There was a real reason you couldn't come. There was something going on. You could not get there for this.
This is not
Because you knew that this was
accurate.
happening. You knew this was happening.
Yes, I knew it was happening.
But you just couldn't get there to get the wristband. Like, there was like no way you could pull it off. And I couldn't get 2 wristbands. You had to be
Right.
like one person, one wristband. So I went that night. I got my wristband. The next day, where it was more orderly, got my wristband, went in, and I saw the Ramones at
One of their last 5
one of their
shows.
last 5 shows, standing next to between Howard Stern and Eddie Vedder. I think they actually there was like 20 people that actually were able to get these wristbands to get
Yeah.
in, and it was an amazing show at a very small venue. Then they decided to do Lollapalooza. Then they decided to do a tour of South America. Then they finally retired like a
Well,
year
South
ago.
America's where the money is.
They needed money, man.
Yeah.
They needed money.
They were cashing in hard. So that was then. Were you there the time our friends met Joey Ramone and he refused to admit he was Joey Ramone?
That was me.
That was you.
Yeah, we were crossing the street. I said, hey, you're Joey Ramone. Is after a Gas Huffer show at Coney Island High. And I said, oh my God, you're Joey Ramone, because he's 9 feet tall and nobody looks like Joey Ramone.
Howard Stern.
Thank God. And he simply said, "No, that's not me," and walked away. You dick. Never meet your idols.
Should have offered to buy him a pizza. He would have stopped.
I think it was Mike Dolan who once told me a story that he had found him walking after leaving a show somewhere too, and he goes, "Hey, Joey Ramone, can I say hi?" And he goes, "I'm not Joey Ramone, I'm Howard fucking Stern," which is funny because they did look alike at the time.
Exactly.
Did you ever get to see the Ramones?
Never see the Ramones.
I'm sorry, you're young and
you know what? It wasn't in the cards for me, and it's one of those things that, of all the bands, I wish I could have seen. I wish I could have seen the Ramones, because with the Ramones, even towards the end when it was Johnny and Joey and CJ and Marky, I guess.
Well, that's the only version we saw,
right?
too. Didi was gone a while.
But still, like I saw the Replacements several years back in Philadelphia, and it was Paul and Tommy, Joss Freese, and Dave Minion, and it was billed as the Replacements. But it's the Paul and Tommy show, which was awesome. It was Paul and Tommy show. If I had seen the Ramones like you'd seen the Ramones, it's still the fucking Ramones.
It's still the Ramones.
It's there's not many bands out there that can have only 2 original members at the end, and it's still
it was still the Ramones.
You still saw the fucking Ramones.
Yeah, I mean, and here's I make fun of Marky mainly because it's funny.
Yeah,
but he's been in the band since '78.
Yeah, he's actually been in the band longer than the original drummer.
Way longer.
Oh, much longer.
Much longer.
And CJ was in that band for a long time.
Yeah.
And without CJ, they would have broken up a long time ago. He kept them together.
Yeah.
He
kept Johnny and Joey from killing each other.
And
no small feat.
And I'm going to put it out there now. If anybody has not seen the documentary End of the Century, please do so. Even if you don't know much about the Ramones beyond 24 Hours to Go, I Want to Be Sedated, and Blitzkrieg Bop, you really just watch one of the best documentaries. I think that's the last time we talked about it.
Yeah.
That was
Did you just name a Ramones song 24 Hours to Go?
I just I got
He's had a long day.
He's had a long day.
Just shut your pretty mouth.
So I highly recommend that. But let's get to our punk rock canon.
Shit, yes.
Punk rock canon.
Yeah.
Why do you love the first Ramones album?
First Ramones album is
Why does it deserve to be in the punk rock canon?
Well, I wouldn't often argue that a album, just because it's the first one, is the one that deserves to go in. However, the first Ramones album really set the tone for punk rock around the world. I think without that first Ramones album, that first Ramones tour that they did 4th of July weekend over in the UK punk scene wouldn't have happened and wouldn't have exploded. I think that people give a lot of credit to bands like the MC5 and the Stooges for punk rock in a way starting up in the Midwest, but without the Ramones and that first Ramones album, nothing would have fucking happened. I mean, as much as End of the Century is my favorite, I would argue that the very first one that they made sounds the best of all the Ramones records. It sounds the best. It is an album that, for all intents and purposes, at the time it came out, should have never existed. A&R people back then, Seymour Stein, everyone wouldn't have batted an eye with that later on, but at that time, if you think of the musical landscape at that time, it's just kind of what needed to happen. And when it did happen, it was great, and the album's over before it starts, and it gave hope to so many other musicians that, well, if these jerk-offs can do it, I can do it too. Because the Ramones look like a bunch of goons. And they look like people who probably couldn't play instruments and might beat you up and take your lunch money. But here they are writing some of the best, most melodic, and it's melodic even when they're playing at lightning speed songs ever written. I don't know what the real competition's going to be here. But yeah, first Ramones record all fucking day.
I liked the first Ramones album. I found it even back then when I first heard it. And back then, I mean, I don't know, not back then, early 90s when Greg Gethard pulled out. I think the first thing I actually heard by the Ramones was the greatest hits, the Yellow Cup, Ramones Mania. Yeah, I think was the first thing I ever heard. And I think I fell in love with the Ramones because of Ramones Mania, because of the melodic hits on there. And I feel I think when I went back and listened to the first Ramones album, I'm like, it's very fast. It's all the songs sound a blur and become very similar in my mind. That said, I'm not going to argue its relevance in place and time, because it changed everything for music when it came out. It became a very tough listen after a while.
See, my counterpoint to that is I Want to Be Your Boyfriend, right? By track 4, they slowed it right down, and they played a pop ballad in the, like, very early on in a fast, light-speed punk recording.
I just don't love that song.
Today You're Loved. It doesn't. Well, see, we're not talking about whether you love the song
No.
We're
That's,
talking about influence.
But you know that's me. For me, it's more about heart and soul.
Right, but that, I mean, that's...
You're the smart one.
I'm mostly looks, George. You know that. It is heart and soul, that song. That song is such a powerful song.
I meant for me, I found it a boring song.
Oh, okay. Well,
I just don't know. Josh...
I don't really disagree with anything he said, except it is... Nobody's going to say, wow, that first Ramones album, not really important. Of course it is.
Right.
And then they made Leave Home, which was the same album. Is the same album, really.
Yeah.
And then they made Rocket to Russia, which is the same album, but better. That's the thing about Rocket to Russia. They took what they did on those first 2 albums and said, okay, now what happens when we put a real producer there? What happens when we put some actual production behind it? That stuff, like I Want to Be Your Boyfriend, and that varied pacing and tempos of the songs. Instead of just doing that once, let's do it twice, 3 times.
Right.
They had 2 covers on there. They covered Surfing Bird and Do You Want to Dance, which they not only redid, but they took ownership of those albums.
Right.
Now when people hear Do You Want to Dance, they only think of the Ramones. If you look at the songs on that list, of the 21 songs, 4 are on everybody's top Ramones list.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that completely. That said, what we're arguing here for the canon is influence. And yes, when you think of Do You Want to Dance Now, you think of the Ramones version. And more often than not, especially with the covers that they did, you think of the Ramones version. Right. What is, and I think to be argued, is the standpoint of influence. And real influence on bands, like what sailed 1,000 ships and got kids to go buy their guitars. I'm saying this is the first Ramones record. And what's interesting, I think, about the Ramones is that, yes, the first 4 records pretty much were exactly the same records.
That 4th album is way different, but whatever.
Fair,
Semantics.
But why I would give more credence to, say, End of the Century is because that, to me, is the true promise of the Ramones. And every part of the Ramones represented at gunpoint.
It is not.
Talk to us, Josh. What's your favorite Ramones album and why? I'm not favorite. What are you fighting for?
I'm fighting for. I'm gonna fight for.
What's your favorite Ramones album?
My favorite Ramones. Oh Jesus. Can I pick a live album? No live album.
Nope.
I would say it might be Leave Home. I think Leave Home just has, it's the same as the first and second albums are the same. I just like the song selection on the second one a little bit better.
Yeah. It's Halloween and Halloween too.
Yeah, exactly. I think honestly, Road to Ruin might be my favorite. It is amazing.
What songs are on there that you love?
My favorite song on that album, Questioningly. Questioningly, it's a slow song. It's a ballad. It's their first song over 3 minutes, which for the Ramones is huge.
It's half an album.
I think that Questioningly, and it's a heartbreaking song. It really is. But that album, just the most punk rock thing that they could have done at that point is completely do a different thing. But Rocket to Russia, the song selection on there, you can't beat it. It's got Teenage Lobotomy on there. How do you beat that? Like, it has the best song.
How do I beat that? I beat that with, this is the first album I ever bought in my entire life. The End of the Century. I went out of my way to buy this album. I went to Let It Rock by myself with my own money. This was the first record I ever got from Let It Rock. And then I realized I bought the wrong album, and it wasn't the Ramones' End of the Century.
Wait, you bought that by accident?
It was Boris the Sprinkler's End of the Century.
Oh, man.
Is it the same songs?
It's the same songs in sequence. This is actually very rare. It's very hard to find any of those. I don't know if anybody really cares other than maybe jack shit and like.
No, this is amazing.
Do
But
you realize how many Boris the Sprinklers, like 7 inches I have? It's
but that's
offensive.
You can't find those. I've tried on eBay to try to get like any of those, like the Screeching Weasel one, but at some point in the mid '90s, a whole bunch of punk bands, like Lookout Records style punk bands, decided to cover in sequence every single Ramones album.
That's awesome.
Individually, have you ever seen that before?
No, I've heard about it, but I've never seen it.
They are. I gotta say, I have a couple of them. They're fun albums. They really are fun albums.
I think that one's the best produced one. Like some of them were just thrown together a little. That one's actually done very, very well. This is actually the first album I've ever bought. This is the End of the Century. That is the print I bought. This is the actual original record, and that was largely because I couldn't afford CDs or tapes. This was like probably $6.99 at Let It Rock. And that's my first End of the Century. I love this album. I love it because of the production. I love it because of the wall of sound. I feel that Phil Spector truly did take the Ramones to another level. God, I hate saying that, but they did. He stepped it up.
Well, I mean, look,
the board.
You would get to that next level too if someone had a gun at your back.
All right, so to be fair,
it's not a Ramones album.
And also to be fair, was supposed. Marky Ramone said that was not true. And judging by how much drugs Dee Ramone was doing, it's a possibility he made that up too.
Joey said it was true. I believe Joey.
But opening up with "Do You Remember Rock and Roll Radio?" Yeah. I mean, Chinese rocks. Danny says, like Rock and Roll High School. There's so much good on there, and it flows so well.
Yeah.
The production is so well done.
Well, he pushed every member of that band to their limits
so hard. And
if you look at the way they play, even Johnny Ramone doing like squibbly bibbly stuff that Johnny Ramone notoriously does not do.
So, End of the Century was done in 1980. The record label wanted them to break away from. So the first four albums did sound similar. I agree with you a little bit on that. They wanted to break away from Tommy Ramone's production and do something a little bit different.
They wanted to break away from the production that made them the Ramones.
I get it, but by 1980, the punk scene was dead, or at least that era was dying out. And they wanted to make them sound more like a rock and roll band, which is what they always wanted to be.
Yes.
And I felt this is what the Ramones, I feel in essence, this is what Joey Ramone was going for, is this right here.
Yep.
And the songs are great. The production is well done. I realize that what's his name, the producer, is fucking insane.
Phil Spector.
Yeah.
Phil Spector is insane. Is he in jail now? I think he is.
Yeah, for murder.
Yeah. And,
he's going to die in jail.
Can I say something that's kind of...
Yes.
All right.
You don't think he did it?
Oh no! Oh no, he did it.
Oh, he did
This is not a Ramones album. This is a Joey Ramone and Phil Spector side project. That's all this is.
Wow, hot take.
Marky
Goldfarb.
Ramone did not play drums. Dee Dee could not play bass. Joey just left. Johnny just left. This is Joey Ramone fulfilling his childhood dream of playing with Phil Spector. And Joey and Phil put out a pretty darn good Phil Spector album. But this isn't a Ramones album. And I'm sorry, but there's a lot of crap on here. This Ain't Havana is not a very good song.
This Ain't Havana's a great song.
No.
This Ain't Havana.
No,
We're going to agree
it's
to
not a
disagree
good
with that,
song.
Goldfarb.
Yeah, we're going to agree to disagree with that.
The Return of Jackie and Judy, because that song needed a sequel. The first song was great. It doesn't need a sequel.
I would argue that the Return of Jackie and Judy is even better than the first. Are we agreeing to disagree?
And first of all,
I'm not agreeing anymore.
and Marky, and I love Marky.
Yeah.
We love Marky
Ramone, amazing pasta sauce. One of my favorites.
I even went so far as to go see the Marky Ramone Blitzkrieg with Michael Graves on vocals.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It wasn't bad. It was fine.
Who'd you go with?
You right?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was a good
fun.
time. Yeah.
I think it was a good show. Like Michael Graves is a really good replacement singer.
You know, it's a really good song.
What?
Sheena's a punk rocker.
Yes, it is.
Wait, what? What album is? Oh, that's right. That's on my album. That's right.
Well,
so is Rockaway Beach and Teenage Lobotomy. It's an amazing. I'm telling you, Rocket to Russia is they peaked with those first three albums. Ramones Leave Home, Rocket to Russia. They peaked at that. Then they switched gears and they evolved, and that's fine. That's not a problem. I'm perfectly okay with them evolving. This is not an evolution. It's a solo project, and this is their attempt. Failed because they never achieved the success they wanted. This is them selling out. Literally getting a producer, literally changing their sound to achieve commercial success.
Yeah.
And that's all they ever wanted.
I felt
and
this-
I don't fault them for that. That's all they wanted, and that's fine. It does not make for a good album.
Animal
Boy is better.
Joshy hot takes.
I feel the first four records were just a caterpillar. A caterpillar that needs to blossom into a fucking butterfly, which is what End of the Century is. It's a fucking butterfly. Why don't you understand that, Josh? This is a butterfly.
I understand because I've listened to it a lot, and it's not that good. You know why I picked Rock to the Russia? Or you know how I know that I'm right?
How are you?
You know
right,
who
Josh?
agrees that Rocket to Russia is their best album?
Joey Ramone.
Johnny Ramone.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah. I mean,
kind of
we
jerky-ish
we
Ramone.
taking
but
dead
whatever.
guy votes. Or?
Johnny Ramone was also
You know,
like Chinese tortured to make this album. He, from what I read, Phil Spector literally just made him redo parts over and over and over again until he was ready to walk out.
Phil Spector is not a nice man.
Until Phil Spector got the sound that Phil Spector simply wanted, because Phil Spector albums are Phil Spector albums. What's the back say? Where does it say? On the back, does it say Ramones anywhere? Where does it say very prominently, the biggest font on the back? It says
A Phil
a Phil Spector production, produced by Phil Spector.
So what I will say about the Phil Spector production, 2009 they did a remaster. They actually remastered I think the first 4 albums, 2009.
They've done all since.
Yeah, I like the 2009 remaster a little bit better. My one critique of the Phil Spector sound version was that however they put it together, a lot of the songs didn't completely sound like they were recorded at the same time in the same studio, and
Because they weren't.
on the same, but you know what I mean. It didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't have the glue. Now it's got the glue. If you're gonna listen to it, check out the 2009 remaster.
All the remasters are actually, they're all really, really
Their
good.
only album to crack the Billboard charts, number
Right.
44.
Right.
Uh,
See,
Rocket
that's,
to Russia.
That's my favorite, but I still argue and maintain the first one.
So in this case, the Punk Rock Canon is up to you because we can't, like, we are obviously fighting for our own here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna put up a poll tomorrow. Choose your, pick your favorite Ramones album of our 3 choices. These are the only choices that really exist. The first Ramones album, the one he chose,
The best one.
we don't even need to know its name, and End of the fucking Century. And then watch the movie along with it, and then also check out my other 2 favorite Ramones albums, which are Brain Drain and
Mondo Bizarro.
No, Mondo Bizarro.
Adios Amigos?
No, the other one, the covers album.
Acid Eaters?
Acid Eaters.
He does love
Acid
that.
Eaters is amazing.
It's got some good covers on there.
It's so good. Acid Eaters, I've just got it recently. I got that. I got Brain Drain, Loco Live, and the recent remasters, which
Sweet.
cost a fortune.
Of course
so
they did.
expensive.
They were so expensive.
The only 2 that I need Acid Eaters and Mondo Bizarro, and you cannot find. I mean, unless I want to buy one for $150 from someone in Brazil.
There was a hot minute when they first came out where they were on Amazon for like $29.
They didn't redo Mondo Bizarro.
No, they did not.
That one still has never been.
And I actually don't think I have that one, but I immediately grabbed Acid Eaters, Brain Drain, and I think those 2. Oh, and Adios. No, I have the original Adios Amigos. I grabbed the other 2 for like $30 a pop, and I think I found Local Live for like 40, and I dropped them on
that is a solid live album.
which is one of my favorite because it's got my favorite version of Pet Cemetery on there.
It's awesome.
And CJ does a great job on Dee Dee's songs on there.
Of course.
Yeah, I agree.
So before we hit the last segment, I want to let your blood pressure kind of come down a little bit. I see your Fitbit blinking, Josh. I'm going to teach you how to make a cocktail.
Oh, fuck. We
Yeah.
forgot all about the cocktail.
So
gonna say
it
something, but I
is
felt
March Madness, where we are going to talk about cocktails that are high alcohol content. So tonight, I'm going to teach you how to make a Rum Island Iced Tea. Because to me, only jerk-offs go to a restaurant and order a Long Island Iced Tea. However, if you put rum in it, it makes everything better. So Rum Island Iced Tea is like a traditional Long Island Iced Tea. You're going to get a pint glass. You're going to fill it up with ice. You're going to put in a full shot of rum. So it's 1 ounce of rum. Now, instead of putting in some of the other ingredients, we're going to swap it out for more rum. So instead of putting in gin, you're going to put in a 1/2 ounce of coconut rum. You're going to put in 1 ounce of dark rum as well. And I prefer that you use Bacardi and Myers for the rums. Now, you are going to put a little vodka in this to kind of take the rummy edge off. So you're going to put in 1 ounce of vodka. And what you're going to do next is you're going to add pineapple juice and a little bit of sweet and sour mix to it.
Are you just making this shit up right now?
No, I had this plan from the beginning. Why did I think I brought up the drink at the
This
end?
sounds like a delicious, terrible idea.
Oh, it's a bad
It's
idea.
a really bad idea.
It's got a lot of alcohol.
Are
in
you
it.
actually suggesting that people make and drink this?
Yes, but make sure you get an Uber.
Yeah.
And make sure you drink it at the beginning of the night. Do not drink it after you've been drinking a lot of other stuff. So you put everything in a pint glass, you put it in ice, you shake it up nice, splash a little sweet and sour in there, and you can garnish whatever kind of fruit you have lying around. You are going to have a delicious pineapple-y, coconutty, sweet and sour cocktail, the Rum Island Iced Tea.
All right, there we go.
Make sure you get an Uber or a Lyft.
Have some Pedialyte ready for the morning because that's going to kill you.
Yeah, this is a one and done. Switch to beer afterwards.
We have one last topic. We only have about 6 minutes left, so we're gonna do more of a our thoughts on how it's starting out, and then we'll do a final wrap up
Love
after
it.
episode 4. Epix, a channel I didn't know existed, but it is available on FiOS. Is doing a punk documentary right now. I groaned when I first heard because I've seen every punk documentary that
Every
you could
single one.
possibly see. I'm like, why do I watch another one? But I'm going to do it mostly because we watched, and you should do yourself a favor and watch the roundtable discussion at the premiere party.
I think that's better than anything you're going to see in the documentary.
I disagree.
I didn't see it.
That's fine.
I know.
What didn't you see?
The round table.
Oh,
I
the
didn't see
round
that,
table.
yeah.
So they had made the bad move of inviting Johnny Rodden,
Yeah.
who proceeded to derail the entire thing.
He's a little outspoken.
Physically looked like he was going to attack Marky Ramone, calling
Yeah.
him like the fake Ramone. And Marky, I don't even see why Marky needs to defend himself at this point because I was also in the Voidoids, which you guys completely ripped off our style. No, you're a fucking Ramone.
Marky Ramone has been a Ramone longer than Henry was in Black Flag, than Johnny Rotten was in any band that he was. Anyone on that stage has been in the band that they're known for, all of them combined, less time than Marky was a Ramone. That's there's no argument.
Henry Rollins looked like he wanted to crawl under a table and pray that people wouldn't question. Basically, Johnny Ryan would answer everyone else's question and just was a complete garbage person. Please go watch that round table.
It's so worth it.
He did what he does.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm assuming.
Look, you invited Johnny Rotten to the dance. You knew he was going to stick his dick in the punch.
And Rolling Stone it's on rollingstone.com. I don't know if it's on YouTube, but it's on Rolling Stone.
You can find it if you look for it.
If you look. The documentary itself, produced by John Varvatos, who I really didn't know was punk rock other than the fact that he owns CBGBs, which might be his only
He
claim.
bought the IP for it, yeah.
Well, I don't know if he bought the IP. He bought CBG. He owns...
His store,
Yeah,
the new John
yeah.
John Varvatos store is in CBGB.
It's in CBGB, so that's his
Cool.
main... No, he doesn't own the IP. I think the
Okay.
family still has the IP.
Someone needs to have
Someone
that.
has, I don't know, but he has the store, which I don't know if you've been to. He did a nice job preserving
Right.
the walls, and the bathroom is now the changing room. Anyway, this is
They did. I like that they showed the bathroom in the documentary. That
Yeah.
place was disgusting.
documentary in 4 parts. They started off first episode that aired already. Did the proto punk, which was like the Kinks to the New York Dolls to the
MC5.
Stooges. And very good job. I mean, again, much of this is stories we've heard.
Listen, if you have seen 5 punk documentaries in your life, you've already seen this documentary.
However, the production on this far superior than most of them.
Yes.
And the interviews I thought were very well done. The level of people, the quality of interviewees,
interviewees.
is very, very good.
Well, let's be real.
Okay, Keith Morris is in it.
No, they're all the only people still left alive.
So that's what I was gonna say. The one point I wanted to make
Yeah.
in this, which is going to be our plug for it. Again, we'll
Yeah.
come review it a couple weeks later. But the one thing I want to make is this is probably be the last time
Yes.
most of these people
Yeah.
are going to do interviews. I was a little surprised David Johansen wasn't in there.
Well, I mean, not yet. He can
No,
pop
he
up
should have been. This would have been where
Yeah,
he
he
would
would-
if he's
it
going to be in an
would've
episode,
been,
it would
Yeah,
have
Right,
it would have been
100%.
this. Sylvain.
Sylvain.
Still Sylvain.
He looks awesome.
He looks
He
fantastic.
still looks so cool.
But the truth is, we don't have to. Looking at some of them, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, you guys are old. Most of them are in their 70s or pushing 70. This is probably the last really good documentary with all of them in
I think
there.
Iggy Pop is actually leather now.
Iggy Pop, I think, is 40 though, and that's just his natural complexion. I wonder if I don't know if he's. Allison said
He's not
last
doing
night.
CrossFit.
Allison wasn't sure whether he's old and looks great, or if he is really just fossilized, and we can't really tell.
It's his hair. His hair freaks me out.
It really freaks me out because it's like, is it a piece? Is it real?
Because his hair is like a 24-year-old girl's hair.
Yeah, for real.
It's
like the one thing he took care of.
yeah, it's really, really weird.
Anyway, I really enjoyed the first episode. I thought they did a really good job. They spent a lot of time on that one, the Wayne County, which I really wasn't familiar with.
And I think that's good. I think my takeaway from it was, and forgive me for cutting you off, I think my takeaway from it is that, like, I've seen every fucking punk documentary. Like, you want to go see a good punk documentary, check out The Filth and the Fury, the Sex Pistols documentary.
No, you do not need to watch
it.
anything involving the Sex
so
Pistols.
Good. Well, anyway.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Let him go.
Let me have a moment.
It's okay.
It's my time.
Over end of the century.
No, not over end of the century, but you plugged end of the century till like the cows came home before. So I'm saying
The Year Punk Broke is a very good documentary.
there's plenty of good punk documentaries out there. I appreciate the fact that they did highlight Wayne County, because no one in any of these punk they mention, but they never actually show you Wayne County. The fact that they're down for an interview is amazing, because you're not going to get that. And you're right. Like, most of the people in this documentary, there's not going to be another big punk documentary. Like, this is it. We have reached the end of the road on punk documentaries. Like, this is the last ride. That said, I mean, for me, I've seen it all so much already that I just kind of put it on the background. I kind of just like checked in as I was doing other things, because I'm not going to learn anything new.
Like having Debbie Harry in there and Clem and most of the Blondie members usually don't get that caliber in most punk documentaries. They'll mention them, but the fact that they're actually being interviewed,
that they sat down,
is a very big deal. And I think that's largely because of John Varvatos, and I think Iggy Pop was the executive producer. I think they were able to get people that you wouldn't normally see in these documentaries. Keith Morris is in every punk documentary ever.
Good for
Henry
him.
Rollins is in every punk documentary ever. This is actually getting legends. I feel the caliber of person interviewed in this is really good, and some of the stories are great. And I love that they're breaking into a decent amount of parts. Most of the punk documentaries are an hour and a half. They barely gloss over the middle part.
This is a 4-part, hour-long episodes.
So I think they're going to hit more than a traditional one. I think the VH1 History of Rock and Roll, was it Rock and Roll?
Oh, that was a while ago.
That was a while ago, but that was of the one punk episode they did was a very good punk documentary. But again, rush through the whole...
You have 1 hour to cover punk rock together. And you're just getting at this. I think the fact that it is a 4-hour, it's a 4-hour documentary in 4 parts, allows them really to get into. We know these stories, we've heard these tales, we know the events, but they're now able to talk about each one in a little bit more detail. So I want to say that I didn't learn anything. I did. I learned details about things that I didn't really know about before, and I knew obviously about Punk Magazine. But to hear John Holstrom talk about it, I've heard Legs McNeil talk forever. Yep. But to hear these, and you bring up the caliber, and yes, they're legends, but they got perspectives that you don't hear before.
Yeah.
And whenever you hear about the New York Dolls, you hear David Johansen's voice. You don't hear Sylvain talk. When you hear about Blondie, you don't really hear Clem Burke talk. Yeah. And that's what I thought they did a really good job with. You heard the other perspective. Which I thought was pretty unique.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they're going to go deeper. Like the second episode looks like it's going to be the late 70s punk rock scene, the historic punk scene. I'm going to assume the 80s are going to be covered in the third one, and probably do the wrap up with the 90s, the mid 90s stuff. And I think that's especially the 80s and 90s don't get covered too often.
Right.
You know, and other than the Year Punk Broke, it hits on the grunge punk stuff a little before.
Right on the outskirts of town.
And there was a recent punk documentary that came out like 5 years ago that I have somewhere that I thought was very good. But again, it's an hour and a half. It doesn't cover what this covers. No commercials in this. They don't bleep out swear words. It's very, very good. Yeah. And again, Wayne County is in this because they've got the time to do that. So definitely check it out. It's on right now on Epix. I'm sure you can hunt down the first episode. And I
didn't even know Epix
I didn't
existed.
Either.
Yeah,
I didn't either.
Until now.
I had to go into my...
So good for you guys. You got on the map.
Fios has a Fios TV app.
Right.
That's very, very good for like easily searching.
Awesome.
A lot easier than doing it. Just try plugging the stuff. So if you ever... Make sure you download the Fios TV app. You know...
Do it.
You're a shameless shill.
Shameless.
Hey, man.
Full-time job. Full-time job. We announced 5G this week. It was fun.
Woo!
Chicago, Minneapolis. It's coming. It's coming.
Rocket to Russia was Johnny Ramone's favorite album.
Anyway, I want to know right now. I want to know how the kids can reach you, Josh. But let me. I think you do have theme song. Do I still have your theme song? Josh is right over Goldfarb. How can the kids reach you?
I'm on Instagram at Broken Record Guy. That's there you go. That's how you can reach me.
Your Twitter is not active at all. Other
mean,
than
I have
trolling
heard.
politicians that will never
Yeah.
respond to you.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I do because I'm an idiot because I
At least-
hate myself.
At least when I argue with people, they argue back at me. You go with the
Screaming
people
into the void.
void,
I know.
absolute void. Your wife is even worse.
I know.
There's once or twice, and every now and then I'm on the toilet and I see Chris like go hard on someone who it's like, and I'm like, Christine, like there's better things you could do with your time. Like those few seconds could be spent fondling the Messiah. Like you do not need to be like, I just don't understand.
Much better plan.
And
That
it's
is
like her
true.
pastime. It's
Yeah.
like,
Oh, she's gonna love that the end of this whole show is you railing on her Twitter
I'm not-
habits.
I mean,
Look,
she
it's,
knows,
It's yelling at politicians and pictures of Gritty.
and that's fine. Like
Two
you can do
sheets.
all the gritty
She
you want.
met Gritty the other day.
I want to talk to you about it. I'm
Gritty was at
jealous.
South by
I
Southwest.
heard
Gritty is
everywhere.
amazing.
Gritty makes me almost want to watch hockey.
Yeah.
Gritty is the best thing to happen to America this year. Best thing about 2018 was
I feel
Gritty.
so bad for the Philly fanatic.
Oh God, buried, buried.
Like gone, like Mr. Met, like fuck that.
Buried.
Like done. Thank you for joining us today. I think you really lent to the discussion.
Thank you for having me.
On the other side of the scale, we have the terrific
I'm pretty cool.
Hambone.
Hi guys. So you can find me on Twitter at Handbreaker. I tweet about Dungeons and Dragons, professional wrestling, and mostly pictures of cute animals. You can find me on Instagram at John Hambone McGuire, where I just show you stuff that I do with my podcast and the adventures that I go on. Which I'm leaving the house, guys. Spring is here. We're getting there. You're gonna be
Thank
seeing more
fucking
photos
God.
other than just my apartment.
You need to pick a night for us to go see us.
Yeah. Yes.
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 Yes. Hambone. Where the hell's my theme music? I gotta change my theme music. I don't know why this is my theme music. It's a bad joke I made on
It's a joke
myself.
that- a joke 60 episodes ago. That's still.
I'm George. You can reach me at GLK Creative on Instagram, at GLK Creative on Twitter. You can find all my work at cultofgeorge.com. I've been trying to get more of my music archive
Awesome.
up on Instagram. It's so tough.
Yeah.
And some of my stuff was not very good, and the film stuff is so
Right.
hard. And then I have to re-edit everything. Anyway, make sure you rate, review, subscribe to the show. Every little bit you do to get the word out about us makes our lives better.
It really does.
It's, you know what's amazing? When like we get female fans on Twitter say we are the only podcast they watch and enjoy.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is the most wonderful
Love
thing
you
in the world.
guys.
So,
Art.
which means our demographic is not just 35 to 45-year-old white men.
Wow.
I
I wouldn't have taken that bet.
completely, no, me neither, not at all. Take us out, Hambone.
Everybody remember, be nice. Aloha. I gotta drive to Massachusetts now.
I can't believe you're doing that.